Hey everybody, been a while since I've been on here, processing things the last week or so, and the holiday and everything else, but I wanted to jump on here and clear some things up. It's been a while since I made a video about this topic, and it's happening more frequently, so I just want to address it as to the group right now, and then because there are a lot of new people and there are some people who haven't heard this and there's some people who just don't know. But I get a lot of, and I'm going to do a future post on this in DMs or comments, any tips for XYZ injury or XYZ condition. Hey, do you have any tips for, it's always phrased like that, do you have any tips? Or my friend's got XYZ, or my friend's doing this surgery, any tips? So I just want to frame what that actually means and what you're looking for. Imagine I still had my office open, and imagine I had 6 people on the floor, 3 that were dealing with 3 different types of injuries at 3 different levels and 3 different age experiences, and they're at different, people have been with me for different various periods of time. And then you got 2 other people who are just training to perform in life. One's an artist, one's an athlete who is participating in sport at varying ages and sex. And then you got one person who's running through eval, and they have my undivided attention as I'm taking them through everything. Concept of why injury occurs, what's the source of every single injury, and then what is their solution going to be, what's going to entail, and what's the workload going to be. Not even just training, but beyond that. And then somebody sticks their head in the door and goes, hey, excuse me. Or maybe not even excuse me, just hey. Any tips for ruptured Achilles? Any tips for, post-surgery ACL? Any tips for skin this? Any tips for, you got any tips for? So just put that in perspective, right? Well, what would I do? I'd be like, my God, yeah, of course I do. We need to schedule an appointment and we need to talk, or whoever you're asking for needs to come in on their own. But we need to schedule time and go through it face-to-face, one-on-one. That's how it would always be handled. But now, with the advent of, one, everybody becoming a practitioner of some kind, they're a hairstylist, or they're a bowling alley operator, or a waiter, and they're also a health coach. Now we have just this algorithmic protocol-esque 4 things you can do for hormone imbalance, 4 things you can do for your Achilles, hip stability exercises. Want to reverse old age? Do this. Want to prevent aging? Do this. Over 40? Do this. Female pelvic do this. It's this craze of, it's as simple as easy as do this, this, and this, and you're healed. It's like Jim when he's trying to tell Dwight how he's going to be saved because the office is going ape shit and Jim's on his honeymoon and he keeps cutting out on purpose, and he's like, and do this and do this, or he's telling it to Michael, and you'll be saved, because I think it's the mafia guys. Do this, this, and this, and you'll be saved. And Michael's like freaking out because he can't hear. And so it's as if it's that, like just a quick phone call. Here's some things, you're good. It's never going to be that way. And I know social media portrays it in this really effed up manner, in this perverted manner, and the coaching world and the therapist world and the treatment world and even the practitioner world is jumping into this as well. And that's all you see. You see these instantaneous tips for all these conditions, and you see all these things that are so easy. Could I just buy this? And could I just take this? And could I just do this? And couldn't I just hack that? And it's never going to work that way. It's not going to work that way with injuries. It's not going to work that way with different levels of illness. From tumors to herniated disc, it will never work that way. It's not your fault. And you know my reasoning, and I get back to you with a response somewhere along the lines of what I'm talking about now. Like, I can't cover this in a DM or in a comment. Like, here's all Zoom options. Email me for Zoom options and let's get going. I'm totally ready to take you on. And nobody does. They were looking for a tip. They were looking for I can't just do a couple things, or I thought it'd be just kind of easy, or I thought you'd be able to just convey something that I could then tell my friend and we'd all be good. Of course not. Just put it in perspective that this is my office. You know the reason why I closed my office and why offices in general, like a physical space, why that gets in the way of healing more than it helps healing. In any capacity, in any realm of medicine, the office, the building, the location just isn't conducive. It doesn't help at all. It never did. It always got in the way more than it helped. And I shut my office down after 22 years, a physical location, done. So now imagine that I'm using social media. Imagine that what I'm doing on social media, it's my office. Imagine that this is how I'm running things. Not because I'm a professional digital creator, or I'm a professional meme maker, which is a lot of the world now. That's who the practitioners are. They're just meme makers. They're just gather information and just put it into something. They have no clue what's going on. Just imagine that the things I'm posting, imagine that I were in an office talking those things to a person that I would be working with. And when you jump into it, you're jumping into it to get information and learn a little more about it and be inspired and be provoked to think and be agitated, because what I said is the opposite of anything you've ever heard before. Ever, ever, ever. And now it's on you to take action, either on your own or use me for guidance. But just imagine that this was my office. There will never be a condition that requires a tip of some kind or a couple of tips of some kind. It's going to be simple, but it's going to be much, much deeper. I mean, and it just, in true how medicine works, it just will never be that way, ever. So just understand that whatever your body is expressing is a big fucking deal. I take it as a big deal, from shin splints to tumors. That's why I talk about them in the same breath, because they are the same thing. They are the body responding to how you're living, period. So when you ask me this question about anything, it's not this flippant, oh yeah, just go ahead and do this, this, and that. No way am I looking at any question or any concern that you have in that manner. And that's why I come back with a degree of severity, because I take this very seriously, because this is what I do for a living. I am not social media for a living, and I need you to understand this. And I'm trying to break through some of that. I can't get to all of you, and all of you can't meet with me, and that's totally fine. That's why I do the Zoom intensives, because you can't get to me in a one-on-one. Great. Here's a group format to the best that I can do on topics that I think we can go ahead and break down to the best of what you can digest and be able to take it on your own. And then I may expand it out for 7-day rentals so you can take in the information at your leisure. My God. Plus, it's a multiple hour class, so there's a lot of information. I totally understand. But will there ever be tips for this and that condition, or this injury, or that chronic? No, not ever. So just put in perspective what you're going through. Put in perspective what I do. Put in perspective how the body works, and it will never be handled in a TikTok 30-second or less short, do this, do that, do this, here's a tip, here's a tip, here's a tip, hack, 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 tip, 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 read caption below. It's going to be much deeper than that. Okay, just remember that before we look at the body this way, because it's getting much worse. I've noticed it in this last year. Much, much worse as to the cheapness that we are looking at healing. The flippant nature that the body is making a big deal of how you're living, and we just glaze over it. And it's aggravating to a fan of human, and it's aggravating to a fan of the most powerful force on the planet, which is looking down at a scab and seeing what it did there, or looking at a fever, or looking at warts, or looking at blisters, or looking at skin burning off, or looking at the swelling of an ankle, looking at a herniated disc, or looking at skin reactions, or looking at bone spurs, or looking at tumors, or looking at bone density concerns, or looking at weakness, or looking at muscle wasting, or looking at the response to your choice to chemotherapy, or looking at what happens when you live this certain way. Like, I'm just fascinated and massively a fan of that, and will always be until I choose to do something else. But for now, this is where I'm at. So this is my office. Understand and approach accordingly. Always down, Always down to help. Absolutely. That's why I do what I do. See you guys on the other side.